Evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you all doing? Welcome to Question Time Live, episode 105. That's right. I've had a feeling I made a mistake then. Carl, they're starting to rack up again, aren't they? Happy days. And the sun's been shining. Happy days. And funnily enough, this week, I'm removing the football ban. Especially after that trip to Old Trafford last night. So, oh yes. Oh, dearie me. I'm such a hypocrite. It's ridiculous. Yes. So, anyway, I'm very happy about that. Very happy that the sun's shining as it should be in September still. And yeah, very happy that there's so much going on. A lot to share with you this evening. And of course, as always, please feel free to start firing in your questions, and I will start to work my way through them as and when we can. So, first one, next Wednesday, there will be no question time live. We'll try and fit it in around in the rest of the week, but it's Ian, come on, give it a rest, mate. Give it a rest. It's just never good enough, is it? Yes, it's UEFA Cup in it, whatever they call the bloody thing, over at Old Trafford. So I will be over there, unfortunately. But like I say, we will sort it out and try and get an episode in the week somewhere. Or I was about to say at the weekend, but yeah, next weekend, Battle of the Breeders Part 2. So news on that one. So this year we're not making that a part of a wider event. Obviously, we've got a lot going on the day with we've got all the catering as usual, the judging of the 2 sets of fish. Alan's coming over again. Absolutely plenty going on. I'll be doing a bit of a seminar about the fish and the growing process. So it's going to be an absolute banging day, but there's a few. We want to get a few other changes in place before we go for the bigger, wider event again. But just to keep you all in the loop, we have earmarked something potentially for the end of October. So when I've had a catch up with the rest of the team, see where that's at, hopefully we'll be able to make an announcement soon. And that is something physical event we're trying to organise, which will be a nice time in the calendar as well as things are starting to die off. But Battle of the Breeders. So obviously everybody who has fishing there will be joining on the day. But what we are going to do tomorrow at some point across WhatsApp, our social media, all the rest of it, you will see a page we're going to open up where we're actually going to give a limited number of tickets away for any of you guys who tune in, any of the followers or anything, to come and attend at Newark Showground with us next Sunday. No charge for the ticket. It's a giveaway, just limited number, like I say, to come and enjoy the day, take part, have a chat with some lovely koi keepers and see what went on with it all. So that's the plan. You won't miss that link once it's posted out. It'll be everywhere, and I will draw that over the weekend as well. So all the information will be on the page, but I'll draw that to let everybody know who's been successful and can come and join in with us. So happy days. Stay tuned on all of the rest of that stuff. Looking forward to it. I've got quite a list here. Jesus Christ. Oh, I've just seen a cracking question coming from Satch down there. Right, bear with me, guys. Let me see what we've got. So, yeah, in case you didn't know, Man U won 7-0 last night. Fucking phenomenal. Unbelievable. Top tier, absolutely stunning team, Barnsley, and we just destroyed them. Oh, dear. Oh, as well, about set. So that prize draw that I promised you all a while ago, I've been getting a bit of stick about that this week. So I'm also in the process of setting that page up to do that. So yes, at some point, again, look out for that link coming. That competition will go on for a little bit longer. So there'll be another question time at some point where that'll get mentioned a bit more in depth. But that is coming on the way, and you are going to absolutely love what I've got lined up for that. And then just another one to recap on that I've mentioned before. By the end of the month, we're not going to be live streaming question time on Facebook anymore. It's just going to become YouTube only. So do bear that in mind if you're tuning in on Facebook. You want to get you sent over to YouTube. Same time, same everything else. It's just going to stay on that platform. And should be another couple of episodes to remind everybody of that one before then. So we've done Battle of the Breeders. We'll come back to that at the beginning. Right, one more, folks. So you will have seen, say, changes coming. Got some great stuff lined up for the back end of this year. One thing I am going to do, and those of you out there who do pay close attention may have noticed last year, I think it was, we changed the name over on the channel from Koi Wholesale to Ricky Stoddart Nishikigoi. Now, we've not decided exactly, to be honest, whether it's just going to be because Ricky Stoddart or Ricky Stoddart Nishikigoi, but this is it's going to become more of a personal brand page that encompasses everything that I'm up to across all different aspects of koi. Still only koi, don't get me wrong, but a bigger umbrella that'll sit over the top of everything, so I don't have to keep cropping up with different channels and different things for the various things that we create along the way. So it's just a heads up that is going to be changing, so it don't come too much up. Want to change it this time? Trust me, it won't be going back, because the plan is clear. Not that it really makes any difference to any of you lot, but some people like to know what's going on, so that's what it is. And that will it won't happen at the same time, I don't think. I'm not sure if we'll be done. Fingers crossed we will, but that'll going to launch with a new website as well that's going to have some merchandise and just a bit of a home for bits of information and just a hub for like I say, everything that is going on, which I think will be a nice touch. So enough for me waffling shite. Let's have a look what questions we've got to get stuck into first of all. In fact, let's start with who's in this evening. Let's have a quick rundown. Phenomenal. Does fascinate me how many people just sit tuned in every week live. It was crazy last week as well, weren't it? All over the world, there seem to be that many different countries cropping up and saying hello. Amazing. Absolutely. It's only a temporary lifting of the ban, mate. Absolutely. Sunny Cornwall. Afternoon from Texas. Wow. Oh, fantastic. Hey, that's just, I love a bit of that, Ray. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah, what about it? Absolutely brilliant, I tell you. All on about this slot ball and all this and all the rest of it, and he's starting to break the wrong records already. Evening, Terry. Yeah, amazing. So if I've missed you, I do apologize. It all gets mingled in amongst the comments, but I'm going to get stuck in with a question. So let's see what we've got. There we go. Evening, Ricky. Is there another way of working out food other than body weight or percentages? Yes, Lee. I mean, you can work on the methods I have with using a timed feeding window. It's a bit more intuitive in the sense that you've got to learn what ultimately is going to work for your pond, as in how long that window is, and the temperature the pond's at will affect how long that window can be as well. So if you're not doing it by weight, like I say, and I don't, I've been playing around with this in a couple of ponds for the purpose of trying to get some more accurate data and see if it is actually more efficient. But generally, every one of the, apart from two, are all being fed through the feeders, but on a timed window. So I'm looking for a 10 to 15 minute time period, depending on the fish. That's mainly tosai to nisai. Nisai to sanzai, I give them longer because they tend to be a lot slower eating. Therefore, I think a longer window is necessary for them to get the amount of food in. But yeah, I mean, like 5 minutes is a good place to start. So try and get them eating, see what they eat within 5 minutes, record that. This is if you're not using an auto feeder as well, see where you're at. And then the real trick with this to make it work is actually just having some indication of how much you are actually feeding them, rather than just putting handfuls in at sporadic times. So the method I've gone with in doing this is actually measuring the food out every day. Even though I've done the weight, you can still use the same concept without weighing them. So you fix an amount of food every day and see how long it takes them to eat it. And then ultimately, you do need a couple of stable feeds in order to do that. But what you want to be tracking is when that time drops off, because, you know, the fish are grown, they want more food. You need to increase that in order to maintain where that feed level was at and compensate for the growth to push them onto that next level of growth, if that does make sense. So yeah, it's more that I think too many people don't know how much food they're actually putting in, and that's what causes, you know, so many problems, water quality fluctuations, especially because the amount could vary so much from one day to the next, especially this time of year when the weather, you know, we've got a cold day, a rainy day, a hot day, it's all over the place. The feed patterns are going to vary day to day as well. So really having some idea of how much you are feeding can help you in so many different ways. I'd say the whole thing by body weight is a real challenge, I think, for any hobbyist out there, because if you've got a mixed collection in your pond, trust me, trying to get an average is going to be, it's madness unless you're constantly netting up weigh-in over sporadic periods, and I'm not going to recommend that at all. It's going to be way too much. Say it's not super accurate with the Battle of the Breeders DK Shiros I've been doing, but I take a sample of 7 fish, literally smallest one I can see, biggest one I can see, then a collective of averages on a scoop in the middle, and use that to calculate, you know, the most accurate average I can, and then obviously scale that up to sort out the feeding level for the pond. But ultimately, as well as that, you can work out that your pond needs, say you come to this, it needs, you know, 1 kilo a day. If your filters are incapable of handling 1 kilo a day, then that is completely irrelevant at that point. So yeah, you've got to work within the realms of what your system can do for you, mate, really. Alan, hi Ricky, I'm finishing off a pond build. Should I get some fishing now, next few months, or wait until next season? Right, Alan, so this is really going to depend for me on whether you're heated or not. Now, there's absolutely no issue with the temperatures we've got moving fish around now. Even as it cools off further than this, no issues with moving fish around. When you get deep into the winter months, if you're unheated, you've got to be careful. They will move okay. So if something goes wrong, they're not going to have the immune response to deal with it. But I think for what you're asking here, this is really going to come down to, like I say, whether you're heated or not, because you, at some point, if you're not careful, you're going to trigger new pond syndrome. And if you're not heated and you just get into the cooler, well, it's even cool now, to be fair, unheated. So in that temperature band, even now, if you trigger that process, you're going to be in trouble, because it's going to take a long time for them spikes to level out. And you're likely going to cause those fish a lot of harm in not being able to get that under wraps quick enough. If you have got heating, then by all means, anytime, but just crank that temperature up. The warmer you can get it, the closer towards 24, 25, start stocking and feeding. You'll trigger new pond syndrome faster. You'll get through it a lot faster as well. So you're not got to go crazy with the stocking. But if you are heated, what it will allow you to do is get your pond in a really nice position, ready for the start of next year in spring and then on into summer, rather than going through it all then. But again, just to stress, if you are unheated, I would probably personally avoid introducing any into there, just because I wouldn't like, you know, you to be hit with that and not be able to get out of it fast enough. You might get away with a few fish, but honestly, there's a big risk there, mate. Luke, hi Ricky. Now I have a air source heat pump on my 2,200 gallon pond. I would like to have a go at koi showing next year. What would your preparation be? Pond is 9 months old. Nexus 220 plus. Thanks. Yeah, this one, honestly, I find this such a tricky question to answer, because if we're getting seriously into the showing side of it, obviously the seasons where the show sits is a fucking nightmare anyway in all this, but you have to set that aside, because that is what it is right now in England. So we deal with that. The real thing is preparation seems to be done kind of a month before, when in all reality, you know, 6, 9, possibly even 12 months, depending on the fish, is the preparation time, or knowing what you're going to be doing. I say that because that's how my head works commercially, in that I would be separating fish, segregating fish, putting, you know, various different batches on different programs according to what they need, because some fish might need the color improving, some might need Shiro improving, some might really need pushing on to max out in a certain size class, and then obviously you've got to try and stop them going beyond it. So yeah, when I hear that question, my head naturally goes to all that, and there's a lot of complexity involved in it all. I think what you have got to just do, you've got the air source heat pump, so you have got temperature control, heating and cooling, which is going to be important in this whole process. But what you're not going to want to do really, Luke, you need to assess your fish and decide where they're at. So do I need to increase the body volume? Well, you know, if you need to do that, you need a period of growth. But also, you know, from that period of growth, you're likely going to affect Shiro, you're going to affect other elements. So, you know, you're going to need then a period of conditioning after that. And that conditioning period needs to be at a lower temperature. You know, you're going to want to develop around 18 degrees is going to be nice to bring in on all the colors, really cleansing the Shiro, you get them on the right diet as well. But do you need to bring the Benny up? If you do, you're going to need to use a color food. Depending on the time frame you've got, you're going to need to stop using the color food, then clean up the Shiro. I mean, the very basic prep is that the food needs to be cut realistically 7 days before the show. So prior to the show, it's important that you kind of overfeed a tiny bit, just so the volume's really maxed out, because you can be amazed at say even 18 degrees, how quickly they can drop weight when you're not feeding for 7 days. But that's really important that you clear the gut out as much as you can prior to moving them. So that's basic kind of health and welfare stuff with that one. But yeah, the actual prep, it's really understanding what you need to get out of certain fish in your collection in order to do it. But if you just want to keep them generally ticking over and really building that condition, probably give yourself a few months, but keep it stable at 18 degrees and feed a bit of an all-round. You know, you want a period of color. I definitely want some color food on the run up, and then strip them off and maybe go on to the pure white. So maybe a color and balance mix, so you're not going too intense at 18. And then, yeah, probably from record, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks before the show. Certainly, you know, 4 minimum. If you move on to something like Sake Pure White, you're going to be able to undo all of that, keep it at 18 degrees and get the Shiroji absolutely gleaming. But I think at that kind of mix, you'd want probably 2 months feeding that sake balance and color, probably like a 50-50 mix, in order to really get the color popping. And then, like I say, look to clean it up. So I think, yeah, you're looking at like a 3-month period for really the most basic of prep. And then aim for one show. Don't aim to be doing shows all over the place. That is bonkers, because getting them back, and people will argue that they can, they've done it, they do it, but it's still not right. You know, the sort of gaps between some of their shows, certainly for bigger fish. For smaller fish, it's not too bad, but you know, you've got a period again where you've got to get them back if you're doing more than one show, and really keep and maintain that condition. Personally, not something I'd recommend. I'd want a good, realistically, 6 to 8 weeks between a show, if that's kind of what you're looking to do, more than one. Until a heat pump arrives, what effect can we expect and behavior should we see when temp swings are big? Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing you've got to do here is with the feeding. So the swings are a nightmare. So you've really got to reduce feeding. I think from what I've seen of outdoor ambient temperatures right now, you're going to be onto like a sake balance, and probably just feeding a couple of times a day. You know, get them on tick over so you don't trash your water. It's really not that warm, and you really need to feed for the lower end of the swings and care for them for the lower end of the swings, and not really react to the spikes, because reacting to the spikes is what's going to get you. So just keep it ticking over, keep it steady, and don't do anything to rock your water, really. Have you found any knockoff black Zeus like you did with yellow monkeys? Now they're not spawning anymore. Is there anything remotely similar? Amazing fish. No, I mean, there's Aragoki out there on the market, don't get me wrong, and some with phenomenal bodies from a couple of lineages, but I mean, in essence, they were a Komonryu done in the Aragoki style with the body line that they had. Man, I mean, it's such a Danichi thing, part of the Danichi brand, that body. So no, Rory, so far I haven't. Will I? I don't know. Need to wait and see. It's been a whole new summer. I don't know really who's been creating and concocting what yet, but I'm sure there'll be something come up. And to be fair, my fascination with those kind of fish is still there as well. So if it is about, believe me, I'll be pouncing on it. If there was only one person in the koi world you could sit with for an evening and chat with, who would it be and why? I presume we meant we could possibly mean past and present with that, Ian, because if it was past, Minoru Manu of Danichi, the father, the founder, would be the man that I would sit down with. He was such a big influential figure in them early years of koi. And yeah, oh God, what that boy must known. I mean, what he's taught to, you just look at his I say his offspring, the batch of Dainichi Obikai that trained under him and who they are as breeders. I mean, they're absolute heavyweights. We got, top of my head, Omasako for one, Mariyama, Nogami, Marido. I mean, do I even need to say any more? It's absolutely insane. All those guys in their own right. So the highest of caliber breeders out there today that all came from Minoru Mano, Dainichi origins. So that would be the guy for me. Unfortunately, say he's no longer with us, so that's not going to be an option. And to be fair, most of the others that I could get to sit down with, fortunately enough, I have. There's a few that are a bit harder to get close to. I mean, obviously the likes of a chat with someone like Kentaro, but you get little bits and bobs along the way. You know, getting an hour of that guy's time's not easy. You just get to pick little bits up when you're there and bits you gather and all the rest of it. But no, I think it's a lot of that old stuff because, it really sets the foundations. And it's kind of, for me, it would be everything kind of pre when bloodlines got pretty fucked up, to be fair, when you had the real pure ones, your Sadazos, your Senskes, all that kind of stuff. That's where I like to get stuck into. A few of the older boys I've been really consciously, chatting to more and more because, I mean, don't get me wrong, in Japan, when they're 70s or close to 80, it's absolutely nothing. So it's not too much of a worry or a rush. But yeah, there's a few of them out there. Kansuke is another phenomenal one I spend more and more time with. And it's just picking up, all them bits from the older times of koi. Last year, I think we did a few at Izamiya, guys like that were right in it back in the day, and it's phenomenal stuff to get hold of. But yeah, the main one for me would be the main Danichi man. That would be phenomenal. Okay, yeah, I'm sure you will, mate. But like I say, details on that. So there was quite a few. In fact, I'm not going to mention that again now. I'll get to it at the end. But yeah, fingers crossed, buddy. Ray, yes, it is next weekend, Sunday. Ian, you've got no clue what any of your fish are actually going to look like, mate. No clue. Brilliant. Just for everyone, I've been chronically updating Ian on his white Kohaku and now white Shiro. Sorry, absolute shame for the guy that they've all gone to shit. Right. Oh, here we go. This is going to open up a can of worms, isn't it? So when you guys were mentioning PP last week, I had no clue what had been going on. And then I saw it. Obviously, the old algorithm must have picked up and heard the conversation and farmed it out. And yeah, it did remind me, actually. So I did take to TikTok having a bit of a rant because, in fact, let me answer Carl's question first and we'll get on to that one. Good morning, Ricky. Question is, do you neutralize PP after treatment with hydrogen peroxide, or do you water change or leave it be? My default is to leave it be. I like a neutralizer there as a safety precaution. But in certain systems, I mean, like with K1, the manganese dioxide comes after, was once described to me by Jasper at EA as the equivalent of McDonald's for the biofilm in K1. So what you tend to see is naturally they saw a little dip, and then a huge recovery and boost in performance after it. And it can actually help when being part of the process of help choking the trichodina out if you're treating for something like that. And yeah, just on your neutralizers, obviously, please don't forget hydrogen peroxide obviously does the job. And it saturates your water with oxygen. The big thing is with hydrogen peroxide, for me, it's a last resort in needing to use it, because ultimately it is a bigger oxidizer than potassium. That's why it clears it out how it does. And what you can, when I've years back tested it with using PP, then neutralizing it after, was you could see slight burnage on the edge of the fins quite a lot. And it's a small detail to pick up on, but we saw it time and time and time again. And the fish looked worse with PP than peroxide than they did with PP and letting it clear through the system naturally. So when you do truly just want to neutralize it, imagine like with peroxide goes over the top of the PP and blitzes it out. Sodium thiosulfate is the one that just actually neutralizes it completely and stops it in its tracks, but it still will leave the water that shitty brown color because it has just neutralized the reaction. So it's depending where you're at. But I say peroxide, if you've done damage and you need to neutralize it and boost oxygen, that's going to be your best choice in that. If it's just because you just literally want to neutralize it and don't care, go down the other route. But my preferred choice is to let it naturally clear out the system. So yeah, the PP thing, because I got on right, and it all come back to this, what's printed on that packet from one of the leading manufacturers of something along the lines of keeping the water purple for 15 hours. The most open-ended load of bollocks I have ever heard in my life, and should be removed instantly, honestly, because even as a professional, that gives us no indication as to what you're actually trying to say. So do I keep redosing it at that full dose? So it's lasted an hour, dose it again, dose it again, dose it again for 15 hours. Mental. It's absolute madness. And no wonder it's leading to fish being killed, because yeah, that is just insane. So I am yeah, we need clearer information on that. That needs to be removed and some better guidance put on before anybody does any more harm to any fish. But if you are out there curious, I've spoken about dosage on this. You'll find it on some of the videos that I've done on the channel. But if whatever you're doing, only dose whatever you dose on that day. You leave it, you reassess the situation the next day. I have no issues with back-to-back dosing one day to the next if it's been a slow reaction time, but I want to assess what's going on. You've got to imagine as well, obviously, once that's reacted, manganese dioxide that's going to build in the water as well. So yeah, dose. It may be that your system needs a clean, and to give it that second dose the next day, it's going to benefit from a clean out. But never, once you put it in, never go in with a top up or anything like that. Excuse me. Wait till the next day and completely reassess it from there. So yeah, that shit is madness. With all the stuff from the VMD, the veterinary medical directory, that come in and change medications and bottles and sizes available and all this shit, to get away with having something like that on that package just blows me away. It really does. Something to ask of you all, folks. If you're watching, I'd greatly appreciate you taking 30 seconds of your valuable time to hit me the like button, because it really does make a difference in the distribution of these videos. And yeah, if it's benefiting you as a koi keeper, share the love in the hope that more people get to see it, and hit that thumbs up for me, whatever platform you're on. It would be greatly appreciated. Amazing, Susan. Getting around, no better than finishing a new pond, is there? Absolutely buzzing. Abby, hi Ricky. Can we use 0.3% salt with chloramine tea for bacterial issues? So, Abby, you can use 0.3% salt with chloramine tea. That bit's not a problem. The issue for me in that is that's a shit combination for treating bacterial issues, and not the way I'd go about it, Abby, in all honesty. Salt, the good bit of salt is all right for stress management. So, you know, while the fish are suffering, you take a bit of pressure away from the osmotic system, right? Fantastic. it's going to do nothing for actually fighting the infection other than just taking a bit of pressure off the body. Chloramine tea is not my preferred choice. My preferred choice in the instance there for water-based disinfection would be Virkon. And yeah, in that as well, it's depending on the extent of the bacterial problem. You've got to potentially look for the cause. Is it something that you've potentially caused? Is there something in the system harboring bad waste or something like that that needs to be dealt with? Or is it something that's come from a parasitic problem? You know, trying to understand where it's come from will help treat it as well. And then depending on how bad it is, you can try the disinfection with Virkon. But if that doesn't seem to stop it, you quickly need to move to some diagnostic work to try and understand what it is and get moved on to antibiotics as quickly as possible if you're going to stop it, Abby. No, mate, not at all. I'm a week overdue at Barber's, pal, to be fair. Hey, who knows? I might have styled it a bit better this morning. Put a bit more of an effort in than I normally do. Clark's, good evening. Yeah, the wife's upstairs. Brilliant. Right, let's have a look. Joseph, Ricky, can I come work for you, please? I have 8 years experience koi keeping and so passionate about the I currently hate my job. Joseph, feel free to send an email in, info@koi-wholesale.co.uk. Address it to Susan, and hey mate, send in your thing. She'll put it to the team. It's not something I get involved in now, but yes, you know, if there's an opportunity there, we'll maybe even keep your details on record if you're a fit for the team, mate. So feel free. Always looking to add to the team where we can. Evening from Newcastle. Evening. Fancy car, replacing bead with shower. What's your thoughts on shower media versus static K+ media? Yeah, I mean, so replacing bead, I'm happy to get a bead off of a system at any point. I'm really not a big fan of those completely closed vessels. I like to be able to, at the least, even if you've got a Nexus, you know, you can shift the K1 out of the way and actually have a look in there to see what's going on. I don't like that with bead systems, and I never have done, in all honesty. But on shower media, just go. I'd go with what you can afford, honestly, because there's the difference you're actually going to notice in performance. I think it's going to be negligible across the board. More with the shower, look at what you can do with it in regards to airflow, getting decent airflow to get, you know, oxygen in, gas off, and flow rates of it. And so long as there's something in there that you are, you know, getting covered in water, it's going to do its job. Really, you just want to max out the potential surface area that you've got. But any media, buddies, is going to do the job. I'm really not that fussed with it. I do quite like the ceramic stuff, but the Sugar Ray Bacteria Home's been great for me. Sat in them showers, done a really good job, and I don't think that's overly expensive. So if you want one, probably say go with that. But if you want to go with some plastic, it's all going to deliver for you, but it's more in the action of a shower and how you get it set up. And it is quite a big, depending on the size of it, big space to get a lot of media in, regardless of what type it is anyway. But I won't be paying over the top for anything there. No, Richard, I haven't, pal. To be fair, been out with the wife all afternoon. So yeah, preparation as poor as ever, mate. To be fair, it's a good job I'm good at waffling shite in it, 'cause otherwise it'd be a pretty drab hour. Yes, Stephen, happy days. Tell you what, not got enough Man United fans on here, really haven't. Right, let's have a look. Now that I can see my koi better, I've noticed what looks like fungus on the tail and dorsal fins on some of my koi. What is best to treat it? Fungus would be potassium, Susan. It's been mentioned. PP is one of the best for that. You can also use malachite green. It's quite a good antifungal treatment as well. So either of those two should get that done. But just remember, there's always normally a cause sat behind fungus, because you can often find fungus spores on a fish, but they won't do anything until the slime coat or something's broken to allow it to actually materialize and develop. With winter coming, I was wondering how often you would clean the brush chamber. Pond is in a greenhouse with heated air and water temps around 10 Celsius during the coldest months. So I would, you probably want, if you're really not feeding, which you don't want to be doing a lot of that, once probably every absolute latest 2 weeks. I would still like to keep up with a tiny bit of weekly maintenance, even if it's just I don't know how you've got it set up, bit of a bottom drain purge or something like that. Not necessarily got to get the brushes out, but in the case of my systems, I can just give the drain a quick purge without having to take the brushes away. So it's really going to be dictated by the feeding, but I should imagine everything's going to be pretty dormant and there's not going to be a lot in there, but it'd still be nice to discharge any sediment away, at least on a weekly basis. But you'd be fine, you know, every couple of weeks before you get all the actual brushes out if there's not a lot of food going in. Steve, hi Ricky, what's the best to get growth without a heated pond? I understand it slows the process up. Yes, it does, primarily, obviously, because you're not really hitting the sweet spots of temperature, but also it's hard to get a consistent feed pattern when you're not heated. But if we go back to the beginning of this episode, the first question, I think that's probably the best advice, giving some monitoring to the food at least to get closer to getting the right amount of food in what your system can handle. But you are going to have to be careful because the fluctuating temperatures are going to mean that you probably can't go too high. It is a little bit comes like the Wild West, to be fair. It's tough. Don't get me wrong, you can get growth. You're just not going to get the crazy excessive growth. And you've got a lot more to manage because ultimately your filter performance is going to be doing this with the water temperature as well. You've got other things you can obviously stick to. There's other principles. The quality of food principle applies. The fish you select applies as well, you know, still getting all the right criteria in the fish to give that the best chance. Not just environmental, but yeah, ultimately, you know, that is going to slow it down, not having the heat. But probably the best thing I can say is pay closer attention to how much you are feeding and be ready, because when that warm spike comes, you need to make the most of it. So, you know, you've been building the filter or building it up well, that comes, and hopefully it's a, you know, prolonged period where you can, you know, get them slightly higher feed levels into them and the filter adapts quick enough for it not to cause you any issues. Dan, evening, just had a pH crash on my pond. Luckily not had any fish deaths. Yes, very luckily. Put enough bicarb in to raise my pH to 7 and KH of 1. Ammonia is now 2. Should I keep my pH low with the ammonia? Now, I think what you need to do is more focus there on your KH, Dan, and get some, you know, I don't know what your base level normally is in the pond. So I'd want to get in that KH to 3 to 4 as quick as you can to give the system some stability. Obviously, if you're a real soft water and it's coming out around that 1 level out your tap, it's going to be a bit harder to get it there and maintain it. But that's what I'd focus on, because the quicker you get that KH up, if it's not super soft water, the lower, even in soft water, that would apply, but it's just going to be a tougher job to keep it there and stabilize it. You're going to get that ammonia down a lot quicker. The spike is likely because your KH has bottomed out. Paul there asking, do we only sell to dealers? Yes. Yes, we do. Sorry, Lisa there. Which food give the best growth and colour of koi? Lisa, I'm sure you've tuned in before. But anyway, we'll go on with it. For me, Saki Akari, colour and growth. That's what you've got. They are two very phenomenal tools. Whoa, daddy long legs around here at a minute, the mental. Yeah, two very great tools to do those two specific jobs. That's where I'm at with that one. Actually, that's happened to me before, but it's because the KH wasn't strong enough. They didn't have enough KH in the water, prior to the treatment, and it's obviously burnt it out in the process and caused the crash. So it'll be interesting, Dan, to know what your KH level is coming out of your tap. Alvin, hi Ricky, do you think we need to completely clean your pond, clean the algae on the wall, and 100% water change in the fall and spring? Absolutely not. It is suicide. I think certainly for you as a hobbyist as well, because for me, it's all about this pond, this ecosystem. It's probably better not to call it a pond, this ecosystem, finding its balance, its natural balance in order to get the performance. And the minute you go in and clean everything, especially, you know, all them pond walls, all that algae, it's a part of that delicate ecosystem. So much biofilm there being destroyed as well. You just, if you did that every year throughout the summer, you're going to be in a constant state of new pond syndrome. And it is absolute madness to think why anybody would do that, to be honest. But I do know a lot of people do it, especially pond maintenance companies. Seems to be their favorite thing to do. I mean, you know, if you're suffering every year and your pond's not performing, don't keep paying people to come out and clean it and drain it and all that. Just get a better system in place and it'll stop the problems. Richard, been underfeeding for years. Amazing what happens when you follow your advice. Yeah, happy days, mate. Really, no more to say to that one. Alan, unheated. Sorry, that was further up only. I'm going to have to refresh myself. Oh yeah, there we go on the new pond build. Right, Alan. Yeah, so definitely, you know, tread. I know it's going to be hard for you if you finished it, mate, but tread with absolute caution. It might just be literally, I don't know how big the pond is, but 2 or 3 fish, because what you don't want to do, and really be so careful with the food, but if you trigger that new pond syndrome at the wrong time, it's going to be stressful for you, mate, to be honest. Has pure white and colour even been trialled to support both? Sorry, Mike, I'm not quite sure where you're coming from. That you mean in support both? I've trialed Saki Pure White, used it several times, hence why I know I can say, you know, 2 weeks every time, see a difference, a month, big difference, 6 weeks would be a phenomenal difference. So the deep reds is too intense. Really, it's just there's not a real purpose for it over here. It's a real high-end koi show finishing product that if you really need to push it hard, it's there. But yeah, not. I don't see where that one fits, to be honest with you. The pure white or can also double up as a very, very good winter food as well, which I like. But yeah, deep red sake color alone is good enough for what's needed. Certainly, you know, I think that the deep red is a high-end Japanese koi show product that I think very few actually do use. Great, hi Ricky. We've been to around the corner. I have bacterial issues, been fighting it, but still having bacteria. Not sure where to go from here. Feeding Akari, doing water change, injections, and topical. Yeah, great. So my questions to you really, you've obviously been doing injections. Have you actually had the bacteria diagnosed, sensitivity done against the different antibiotics to find the right one? Because if it's not working, that might be the problem. Are you getting the dosage of the antibiotic right? How are you doing it? You know, are you actually weighing the fish? Because it's amazing, even from some of the calculations where you can estimate the weight, the actual difference in how much out they are has a phenomenal effect. And then furthermore, you know, is there something in the system that's potentially adding to the problem? Few things there I'd want to look into, mate. Yes, Black Zeus. I tell you what, mate, I might even be tapping you up. Jesus Christ. It's a smart move trying to get some spawn off of that one you've got, pal, which is looking phenomenal, by the way. Paul, hi Ricky, new to the hobby and have been following you for a while now, which I've learned so much. That's amazing. So thank you for doing the videos and Q&As. Going through new pond syndrome, but is it usual for the water to go cloudy, and should I just leave it or look for treatment to support? Yeah, cloudy water, green water, so many of these are normal, really normal phases of it all, buddy. What I would suggest is obviously check in. I don't know what system you've got running, but it's always good time to really slow down the flow rate through the filters to allow them the best possible chance. and something. I mean, it's warm enough now, really. PSB is going to help you. Colombo PSB, really great treatment. And some of the Bacter Plus or EA filter gels can be really, really useful as well, just to help seed up. It can seem like they're not doing anything for a long time, but trust me, they do have an impact. So, yeah, best of luck with that one, buddy, and just stay patient with it. If you've got any heating, if you can warm the water up, it'll make your life 10 times easier and speed it up. But if not, I'd be dosing some of them products in. While you're using them, be sure to turn your UV off as well for maximum impact on those. Gary Coy, good evening, everybody. Rick, what are your thoughts on pressure filters for a new hobbyist with not a lot of time for cleaning filters? You can get a pressure filter to do the job. You can get any filter to do the job. And it's just depending on where your budget's at. I have no idea these days what a pressure filter is running at. Some of the big brand ones can be really expensive, and then I'd have a problem with it, because ultimately you can probably get better for the money. For me, it's not about cleaning. I don't think they're particularly easy. If they move into easy pod territory, it's not even a conversation. You take the easy pod if that's where they're at price wise. But yeah, it all just comes down to where you're at budget wise for me, Gary, to be honest. And then it's about finding the absolute best solution for what money you've got to work with. And whatever that budget is, trust me, there is a solution out there. You've just got to find the best one. Let's have a look. Oh, there we go. I was just reading that one and I realized it was split. Also, follow your advice of a feeding window, 15 to 20 minutes for tosai. Amazing. They doubled in 10 weeks and got super bulky. Yes, it's pretty simple. Eric asking me on sodium thiosulfate. To be honest, Eric, I'm dead lazy and I just buy the Kasori stuff. That you believe it. That's what I have on hand. To be honest, we only use it for a little bit when we're using fresh water for videoing and having it just kicking around on standby. So it's just find it easier rather than faffing around. Ryan, would appreciate a follow, guys. I was going to start shooting videos, but haven't got any follows. Share them too. Fair enough. There you go, Ryan. Feel free to give him a follow, guys. I'm not sure what videos he's going to be shooting, but hopefully they'll be good ones. Hi, Ricky. Do you use Pond Detox formula and Envirex? Is it any good? I don't use either. I've heard Envirex has been around for a long, long time, and Pond Detox, I have heard that they're good products, but never personally used them. So I can't comment. Yeah, but I'm sure many people in the community can and have used them for various different purposes. You probably gathered by now, I don't go chucking too much stuff in there, just a bit of clay normally, and focus on other stuff. This is what I was kind of getting to in the episode a couple of weeks ago, where all these different additives you might be throwing in for various things that might actually not be necessary can all be put towards moving towards that better food, if that's something you're looking to aspire to, because the benefits that will come from that better food for me will far outweigh what all these additives potentially do to the water. Evening, buddy. Matt, how your channel? Only 7,000 subs, mate. I'll never know. My favorite koi channel. Far more to come in future, I'm sure. Yeah, mate. To be fair, I mean, it's growing like a demon at the minute, but it's YouTube's a competitive place these days, mate. And I was quite late to the game, in all honesty. But yeah, I mean, in a space of no time at all, it seems to have gone from 5, 6, 7. So away it goes. But I mean, we see the stats. There's a lot of people tuning in. Not everybody is subscribed. So if you are watching, folks, and you're not, get it hit, because it does help. Still, it's not one of the most important metrics, but it does help. So I'd appreciate that if you do enjoy watching. Plenty more. Al's tuning in. Evening, mate. I hope you're ready for next Sunday. God, I better prepare me banter, and I'll get my stick out to beat him with. Love it. I went throwing under the bus, mate. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've got to come up with some excuse though, pal, haven't I? Susan, should I do a topical treatment for the fungus or treat the whole pond? Treat the whole pond. You can use a potassium bath if it's just a couple of fish. Personally, I think I'd prefer to treat the whole pond with that one. Darren, evening. What's your thoughts on ozone in the pond? I tell you what, I could do with a jingle for questions like this, couldn't I? Some kind of alert or whatever it is, like they have on Talksport. Yeah, Darren. I mean, ozone does not fit into the whole keep it simple mantra whatsoever. I've said it before. I can see the appeal with it in what it can do for your water and all the rest of it, but for me, just no. I mean, something that literally done wrong has the capacity to start dissolving your fish. Not for me, pal, in the slightest. And I mean, the real plus to it is what it can do in regards to just keeping that water almost sterile, gleaming crystal clear. And if you gathered anything, certainly from the past few weeks as well, that's just, not where I'm saying things really want to be, and not what's best for the koi themselves. For us, amazing, but not the best for them. I could going through a new pond syndrome, and I think we just answered that a bit further up, Paul. Did we ever put it up again? But if it is slightly cloudy, just persevere with it and get some of them products in that I mentioned. Does colour food enhance the colours of koi like chags, or is it just mainly reds and oranges? Yeah, it's even primarily reds, yellows, or everything on that kind of spectrum that's actually got pigment. If it's a chagoi that's loaded with pigment, and some are these days because of some of the crossing that's gone in, then it will help enhance them as well. I did it with Karashigoi, the Akawa ones, when I last had them, did an absolutely fantastic job bringing the yellow, pigment out in them as well. So, but yeah, really kind of playing some of the chagoi stuff like the Marido chags I've got, it would do absolutely nothing for any of those. Evening, Phil. You are excellent at waffling. Yeah, chatting shit, buddy. Chatting shit. I've never used Virkon. Yes, Abby, I said I'm not going to go into my dosing program on here because I don't want everyone just going out and doing it and doing shit they don't need to be doing. Drop me a message, Abby, and I'll fill you in on the blanks with that one, mate. But a little bit more information about your issue you've got going on. That's actually correct. You don't whiskey yet, Abby. Still reminded me. I was telling someone about the time I went up to them with them boys at the Scottish Koi show. I was very, very young at the time and impressionable. But my God, I thought I could drink. And by the time I'd done, them boys just started on whiskey. They were only on warm up on other stuff. Jesus Christ. Unbelievable. Good memories, though. It was a good laugh. Hi, Ricky. I have a Backy shower. First time this year running alongside my Nexus 310. Happy with how it's performed, but should I stop the Backy over winter or can I just turn down the flow? Personally, I'd turn down the flow, Mickey, keep water running over it, providing that it's not going to be chilling your pond too much. If you're heated, you might want to consider just enclosing it or getting it covered somehow just to stop chilling and bumping your heating costs up. But yeah, I mean, if you can keep it running, obviously you're going to keep the bacteria, depending on your temperature, dormant or alive and active. So it's there ready for you properly in the spring when you want it. Christ, I can't believe up to 54 minutes again already. And we just tippled out there up to about 210 people all in all, which is amazing as ever, guys. I do appreciate it. Oh, there you go. I missed that bit underneath. Pond's got an air source. So yeah, absolutely, mate. I would keep it running for sure. Oh, and then back to Dan. Yes. So KH is normally 6, pH 8.2 in a hard water area. That's why it took me by surprise. Yeah, mate. KH, if I could only have one test kit, it would be the KH. That's it. Because it's obviously difficult to generalize, but when you've got that KH stable, so many other things around it, pH, biological filter activity, they're all performing well. So if you've got a KH 6, Dan, you need to build that up over the course of the next week. Just ignore that ammonia. I promise you, right, that's going to clear really quickly. the quicker you get that KH back up. Obviously, don't do it too much and swing that pH right back up. So you want to be adding that bicarb in over the course of next week and get that KH back to 6, buddy. But yeah, KH, keep on it. All my question problem too long for the comments. Oh, that doesn't sound very good, buddy. Right, Colin, what's your thoughts on traceability of koi without breeders' certs? I don't really know what to say there, mate. I mean, for me, not an issue. My head can pretty much trace fish I've sold years back to where they came from. For you guys, I get it. I know certainly if you're paying premiums, I get why it can be tough. I think there's why big breeders do it is really important. But they don't do it with everything. That's where you've got to be careful. But I think this ultimately comes down to making sure you're working with people that you trust when you buy them and that you know the fish are coming from where they've said that they're coming from as well. And unfortunately, there are fuckers out there that do missell. And, you know, even when I see it, it drives me absolutely mad. But I think this is all relative to, say, the farms you're coming from. If you're paying a premium for any branded product, you want to know it's genuine and legitimate. But yeah, the tough thing is, you know, a lot of these fish from Denichi's Sakai's, there are a lot of batches that get sold without it, but at that higher end, it generally is always there. And I think it's nice to have it. But I think I also see too much placed around this whole certificate thing as well. But regards traceability, I think, yeah, it's important. You know, you trust in, you know, the people you're working with to know your fish are coming where they're from. But the certs, I've seen the whole thing. You know, there's ones out there in circulation that get filled in from where people's had blanks and stuff like that. It's all a bit shitty. So I think ultimately having that trust with the people you're working with, Colin, is the most important factor in all that. Ricky, what's the cheapest way to get some heat into an 800-gallon pond? Yeah, I got no idea. Well, I say no idea. Initial investment wise, a kilowatt heater or 2 500-watt aquarium heaters. Often they won't go below 18, but it's going to get you some heat in there quickly and very, very cheaply. But then it might just be, I don't know what the smallest kind of heat pumps and stuff are out there. But like I say, that's the kind of, for me, the angle now. If you're looking at pond heating, seemingly it's longer term, the absolute most cost efficient way to go from everybody that's fed back the kind of running cost information and data to me. As a Filter Start Plus in the glass bottles is the one. Fair play, Terry. I've never used it myself, so can't comment, but I do like Oaza products. With the Shiro changing so much in the early years, will you find it hard to identify as everyone's fish in the Battle of the Breeder event? Absolutely not, Dan. There is a knack to it, mate. There really is. And there might be a couple that test me, but through the process of elimination, we'll get there. But actually, a lot have changed positively for the better and had some really good Sumi progression and development. So, yeah, it's not going to be a struggle, mate, at all. Richard question. I have a young Omasako Shiro tosai that had an amazing Sumi pattern, grew a lot and lost all the Sumi. Will it come back? If so, in the same location? I swear, Richard, you've either asked me that before or you're not the only person that's asked that similar question. And the answer is yes, there is still time for it. If it kind of hits getting into a full, you know, sand size, sort of 36 months and beyond, and it's not showing any signs, then you might want to start questioning whether it's going to happen. But it still can't be a complete write-off at that point. But from kind of this autumn onwards, I'd want to see some kind of recovery in it to some extent to give you some hope. Hi, Ricky. Is it a danger if the filter was off for a couple of days? Would media be okay, or has bacteria become anaerobic? No, it's not about it coming anaerobic. It's about it dying off, Simon. So you will still, there'll be biofilm there. It will have done harm to it, yes, but it should very quickly recover again because you're not starting from ground zero. So yeah, don't sweat too much about that, mate. How are the DK Shiro doing? So yeah, if it's the Battle of the Breeders ones, phenomenal. If it's my Tatigoi ones, there is actually a video to drop. There's two that'll be out before the end of the week. which have got updates on a few things, but one was the DK Shiros, the Tatigoi that I selected against Fujo. They were absolutely mind-blowing. That was a very, very fun morning, getting those shifted out the 1,200 gallon pond to the 3.5. However, since then, done my head in because I can't get them to eat. They're not happy with me. Just getting used to their new surroundings, so just having to be patient, and I'm sure I'll get them back on track. Hi Ricky, any advice? My missus is taking the mick out of me constantly watching koi videos. She said it's me or the fish. Any help welcome. I'm an addict and need help. I am the absolute last person to be giving you any advice there, Graham, unfortunately. Crikey, folks, you've been busy with these questions tonight, so I'm going to dig in now and get these actually done to the end, but I'd appreciate no more coming in. I've got Lisa down there at the bottom, so that's our cut off. Jason, I have 20 tosai in a grow on tank and need to move some on end of year. How would you select which ones to keep? Any pointers? Would you keep the biggest or best patterns? Yeah, I mean, how you phrase that at the end, Jason, is probably neither. So you need a real focus on quality with that, obviously, depending what you want to do with them as well. I mean, it's no good just keeping a big one if it's shit, because it's just going to become bigger and shitter, which you want to avoid. And just necessarily keeping patterns, you might be sacrificing quality and any potential size in all that as well. So probably the best thing I can say, buddy, is drill down into some of them videos that are sat on the channel. There might be a bit more variety specific for you as well, but I'm sure if you haven't already, you'll pick up some selection tips there. But just to your actual question there, no, would I keep biggest and best patterns? You need to focus on quality and finding the best potential, which isn't necessarily either of those two. Hi, Ricky. I have a 12,000 gallon pond with 3 ORs of compact L drums and have about 40 koi ranging from 60 to 95 centimeters. How often would you have the pond turn over? Dave, to be honest with you, it's going to depend on what you're feeding, really, and all that, because that could be a lot of food there, depending on how you're hitting them and how you're running the system. But certainly, I mean, no less than once every 2 hours and no more than once an hour. As just a generalization for you there, should keep that pond ticking over. A dream for you, everything you've got on there. But Dave, to be fair, if it's all running all right, whatever you're doing, stick with it. Don't go changing it. That's the very best advice I can give you. My KH is always low, around 2. Hesitant to chase numbers, but is there a proven KH number for optimizing bacteria? I've maintained higher KH in the past, but then pH maxes out at 8.4. Key, to be fair, if you've got a stable 2, that's at the lowest end. If you want proven levels and stuff like that, mate, that's for people far smarter than me. But all we do know is at 2, if you keep a 2 stable, you can do it. I'd prefer you to keep it at 3 and keep it stable. You just got a bit of capacity. But around 3 to 4 and stable, you can do it. But I always see a pond performance change when it hits 2 and go. You start on that downward path. So it's 2, 1, 0, bang. You notice the difference in the water so quickly. But stability is key, mate, always. Slight pinking on Deutsche Shiro on the lateral lines on one side. Will it ever go? All parameters scrapes fine. That can happen actually with Deutsche fish and lateral lines. The same as with Aragoke. You can get a lot of scale issues. I've got some amazing Deutsche Chagoi at the minute with scales down the lateral line, and they're a nightmare. They're constantly knocking one out, or they get a bit of inflammation under one. Generally tends to naturally sort itself out, but it is a pain in the arse. But you can, if you're eradicating everything there, I would say it's possibly the fish, because that can be a problem with them. Lee, I do get it down there, mate, with your soft water, but then this is where it's key, is stability. You know, it's no good trying to buffer it up way higher than where your tap water's at, because it's naturally going to want to come down. But the best thing you can do is get your kind of acid mops in there. So, you know, oyster shells, stuff like that, just to start soaking up some more of the free acid to help protect your KH and take some of the heavy lifting away from it. 7K, not too shabby. That's mega. YouTube viewing is brutal. It's all take. I appreciate that, Keith. But to be fair, it's not the numbers. You know, I think it's the bit that warms me is what we wanted to do was have an impact on people's koi keeping journey. And I think from a lot of the feedback I get, it is doing. And that's the bit, you know, if it was 1,000 people, it was helping. But if it's more than that, I don't know the full extent of it. But yeah, it's not all about numbers. So Susan, yeah, I've answered that question. Soft water. 3 weeks in with air source heat pump pond at 25 degrees, fairly cheap to run after you get the temperature up. Amazing to hear. Thanks for sharing that feedback. Guys, hi Ricky, had to treat my pond as my Benigoi had excess mucus on his head. All of the fish were okay. During this time, he lost some scales. He's okay now. Will the scales come back? Yes, and the colour should come back as well. It'll take a bit of time. It really will, but both should recover properly. That was Lisa. That was the line there, folks. So, yeah, sorry, I'm going to leave that one there with all the questions, guys. That's a good old list we've got through there tonight. I hope you've all gained something from that. So just a few last bits to run over before I lose you all, because there's a lot more tuned in now than there was. Battle of the Breeders part 2 is next week. We're not incorporating into a wider event like we did last year because we're planning to do something towards the end of October, all being well. However, we are going to release a list where you can enter to go into a ballot for some free tickets to come and just take part and see the Battle of the Breeders next Sunday at Newark Showground. So look out for that link being dropped across all our channels, the WhatsApp, YouTube, Facebook, all the rest tomorrow at some point. And I'll let you know over the weekend who's been successful in getting those, but all the full information will be on that page anyway. And what have we got? Oh, yeah, just a reminder. So I am going to be changing the channel name over at the end of the month as well, as it becomes more of my personal brand page for koi, encompassing everything I've got going on around me, which is going to be a few new bits coming up over this winter quarter as well. So just for those who are curious and wonder what the hell's going on, that's what it is. But there's going to be a website launching with it as well. That was going to give you a bit more information about everything that's going on a regular basis at the same time. And then, yes, the last one, the big one that I didn't even mention at the beginning, I thought I'd wait until the end. So on Saturday, at some point, you'll see it scheduled. I'm going to do a live that's going to actually go across this channel and the Koi Talk one, because I'm going to be giving everybody an update on where we're at with that. That includes the issue that we do owe to people and where it's going to be heading in future. So you can either catch that live with me on Saturday or catch it up afterwards. But other than that, that is everything this evening, folks. I don't think I've missed anything. But yeah, thanks everyone who has tuned in. Greatly appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you on Saturday. Look out for them 2 videos that are dropping, especially the DK one. You're going to absolutely love seeing where they're at. That lineage is dreamy. But there we are. Cheers, folks.